welcome the success of the QTM webinar second edition, it is with a great pleasure that we welcome everyone to our third and much anticipated session entitled Africa Ready, Willing, Open. And we are honored to have key players and decision makers from the African tourism sectors as our valuable speakers. Let's start with Mr. Cuthbert Ncube, Executive Chairman of African Tourism Board. He is a seasoned tourism executive and has had leadership positions within international and regional organizations. His mandate at the African Tourism Board is to leverage strategic relationships in the industry and beyond to unify Africa's efforts in positioning herself as a tourism destination powerhouse. Today, he will discuss repositioning Africa as a single tourism destination. We are so glad to have you join us today, Mr. Cuthbert. Our second speaker is Honorable Najib Balala, the top man in charge where tourism is concerned in Kenya. He is Kenya's current Cabinet Secretary for Tourism, but also previously served as a Minister for Tourism from 2008 to 2012. Honorable Balala is also the current chairman of United Nations World Tourism Organization and was voted Best Tourism Minister in Africa in 2009 by Africa Investor. He will be discussing the magic of Kenya awaits you. Honorable Balala, thank you for joining us today. Our third speaker is Dr. Rifai, Dr. Taleb Rifai, a former Secretary General of UNWTO, a position he held from 2010 to 2017. He was the first Jordanian to hold a UN Secretary General position. Dr. Rifai joins us today as a patron of African Tourism Board, where he also serves in the advisory board. He is also chairman of the project Hope Africa, and we will hear more about this project later today. Dr. Rifai, it's an honor to have you in today's panel.
It's a pleasure to be with you, pleasure.
Our fourth speaker is Ms. Ariella Kageruka, the head of Tourism and Conservation Department at the Rwanda Development Board. Prior to joining RDB, Ms. Ariella was Director General of the Chamber of Tourism, Rwanda's private sector umbrella for travel, tourism, and hospitality companies. Ms. Ariella is a Rwandan professional with an avid passion to contribute to Rwanda's socio-economic transformation strategy and the African agenda of creating opportunities, growth, and employment for the continent and its youth. Her topic will be Remarkable Rwanda, ready to welcome you back. Ms. Devota, what a pleasure to have you join us today. Ms. Ariella, sorry. What a pleasure to have you join us today, Ms. Ariella. Our last speaker, Ms. Devota Mdachi, the powerhouse behind the Tanzania Tourism Board, leading the organization as the managing director since 2014. She is the first Tanzanian woman to hold the position of managing director of Tanzania Tourism Board. She has been globally recognized for her contributions and achievements, and recently been named as one of the top 100 CEOs in Africa and the most influential woman in business and government. She will present us with Tanzania Unforgettable, a story of resilience and hope. Ms. Devota, we are delighted to have you join us today.
Thank you, Laura. The pleasure is all mine.
Thank you. To all our speakers, welcome to today's session, and we are very excited to hear from Africa thought leaders. And now, it's my pleasure to introduce our today's moderator, Ms. Doris Parsons, Managing Partner of SRC Agency, a communications and professional conference organization firm based in Tanzania and Rwanda. With an incredible passion for seeing Africa's tourism sector takes its rightful position at the top, Doris and indeed SRC Agency focus on helping tourism organizations and destinations tell their stories to the world, which I believe is why you are here with us today, Doris. It's wonderful having you moderate this session today. Doris, please take it from here.
Thank you very much, Lara, for that very gracious introduction. But before I continue, I'm getting messages that the sound is not, they're not getting the sound. So could I just ask the technical team to see that everything at the background, that the sound is fine? There are people saying that they can't get the sound. With that being said, again, Lara, thank you so very much for that gracious introduction. I must say it is a privilege and honor to be moderating this highly anticipated session. Let's get ready for what I believe will be an exhilarating and very informative 90 minutes. I would also like to appreciate each and every single one of you who've taken the time to join us today. We're so very excited to have people join from all the four corners of the world, some of whom have probably had to stay up late or not go to sleep at all, just to join us today. Thank you so much, and we appreciate you. Now, we all sat in—
Working, Ms. Doris, now sound is working.
Okay, great. I understand the sound is working. So for those who are having problems with sound is good. May I just ask that you mute yourselves throughout the session. Thank you. So we all sat in disbelief as news of COVID-19 spread across the continent, bringing all activities, including travel, to an abrupt stop, practically overnight. One day we were planning our 2020 vacations, and the next we were locked down in our countries, in our homes, having to cancel all travel plans without knowing when we will ever see all the beautiful destinations again. Now, today's webinar is a story of Africa's resilience and hope. Today, we will talk about the good news that is the reopening of the East African tourism sector, simply titled Africa Ready, Willing, Open. Now, our panelists today are extremely passionate about tourism, each one very influential leaders in their respective countries. And today we have the privilege of having them all in the one platform. I'm certainly looking forward to hearing about each of their destinations and having conversations with them on just how ready they are to have us return to their borders. Now, statistics show that around 67 million tourists visited Africa in 2018, making Africa the second fastest growing region after Asia Pacific. Now, in case you're wondering why that is, allow me to enlighten you. When you talk of Africa, you talk of extraordinary landscapes and tamed wildlife and spoilt beaches, captivating cultural experiences, and more importantly, the amazing people of Africa. Now, I don't want to preempt anything. You will hear more about East Africa from our panelists. Now, before we continue, I'd like us to take a moment to participate in an opinion poll. It's very important for our panelists and indeed for all of us here just to have an understanding of what you, our participants, what your views are in terms of returning back to East Africa. Are you ready to travel? Just because we're ready, does it mean you're ready to travel back to us? So please take a moment right now to participate in this poll. I know if you could just get ready with the poll question right now. And it's just a single question poll. You are all able to participate except the panelists. Panelists can't participate. So Anna, let's have the poll up there, please. Okay, Anna, if you can see it, then you read the results because I can't see the poll right now, so I can't read the results.
Okay, so the poll question, which is how confident are you right now of traveling to East African destinations?
Arnold, let me take it from here. For how confident, we have 48% of our participants who vote for very confident, 48%, while 40% somewhat confident and 13% not confident at all. So the majority is very confident.
Okay, so 48% are confident, and how many not confident?
Not confident at all is 13%.
Okay, great. So hopefully we will change their minds at the end of this session. So speakers, that's what we have to work with, knowing that you know, a very small number of 13% are not convinced, but I'm sure after this session, we'll all have them convinced and ready to travel back to East Africa. And now to the business that has brought us here today. Predictions over Africa's chances of survival were dire. We all heard those stories of doom and gloom, to say the very least. The opening of Kenya, Rwanda, and Tanzania, along with a few other countries in the continent, is a story of defying the odds, to say the least. It is a story of resilience. It is a story of hope. Africa Tourism Board's vision is to position Africa to be the tourism destination of choice, leveraging the incredible value proposition that Africa has to offer. So I'm going to direct my first question to you, Cuthbert. You have quite a mandate with African Tourism Board, and we'd like you today to share the ATB story. What is the vision, and what is it that leads the mission? You do have a tall order, uniting Africa to be one destination, and we're all here today because we believe in that mandate. Please tell us your story, Cuthbert.
Thank you so much, Doris. I would like to extend my gratitude to Lara and the Qatar Travel Mart team for your kind invitation, and commend your efforts in leading the developments in integrating our efforts as we are entering the activation and recovery phase of our sector. Appreciating your program director, Doris, for your Pan-Africanism and dedication of cause within the travel sector. Always acknowledged and glad to see you in action once again. Looking forward for an exhilarating engagement this day with all your listeners across the globe who have joined us. It is really an honor and a privilege to participate together in this engagement. I have learned with great interest the demonstrative drive from my honorable brother, my honorable Minister Balala from Kenya, whom I implore and respect. We have noted with great pride your tireless endeavors. He has taken the sector into his confidence by swinging the doors open for the travel space. With Tanzania, who defied the mist of the pandemic and demonstrated that decisions should be taken in Africa by Africans in as far as issues of Africa are concerned. They have written their own narrative as an African champion. Give us the recipe of your boldness and courage. Rwanda has followed suit in resolving and addressing the challenges of the pandemic head on and explore opportunities to recover the sector. And by the way, congratulations, Rwanda, for being acknowledged by Germany's reputable Robert Koch Institute for being delisted as a COVID-19 risk area. As African Tourism Board, our advocacy and mitigation is to implore and advocate a more intrinsic coordination and synchronized approach in setting the travel sector in motion, starting with domestic activities that will culminate and motivate the intra and regional travel. May I hasten to say we in the African Tourism Board, we're looking forward to a more collaborative synergy with Qatar as I champion this afternoon, this morning, a birth of a brotherhood set up as we promote our respective destinations and economic advancement. Colleagues, tourism is an essential pillar in our agenda for sustainable development. The travel sector plays a pivotal role in accelerating our joint efforts to achieving our economic goals. The livelihoods of so many of our citizens depends on tourism, especially for our vulnerable groups such as women and the youth who are most affected by unemployment. The setback has affected every worker, every business in every corner of the globe. Hence, hundreds of millions of jobs have been lost. Tourism, therefore, is a sector that remains among the most affected sectors, as almost all countries implemented lockdown mechanisms and measures in place and closed their borders, thereby effectively shutting down the tourism activity, with the exception of Tanzania. Once again, I want to say well done to the leadership and all stakeholders. As African Tourism Board, we urge and plead plead with all stakeholders within the travel sector that these challenges should and must provide encouraging opportunities. The world of work, including the tourism sector, will not look the same after this crisis. Therefore, the time is arrived for a well-coordinated global, regional, and national efforts to build a more resilient economic growth, including the tourism sector. May I be allowed, friends, to set the pace with our Asian counterparts, the Qatar, to put our resolves together. Africa is ready and willing to receive and partner with strategic stakeholders with the vast opportunities that prevail in our continent. Africa holds an undeniable potential. The continent boasts of various living attractions which are satisfaction for the tourist appetite and investors yearning. From Rwanda to Cape Town, Cairo, down south Victoria Falls, to the Masai Mara Game Reserve in Kenya, to Mount Kilimanjaro and Zanzibar in Tanzania, the blue deep waters and white sandy beaches with exotic sea life, the sparkling Seychelles with its multiple islands is in our mother Africa. I therefore encourage our colleagues in the travel sector to navigate how together we may recover better and advance sustainability and build resilience. Therefore, our exploration towards a brighter tomorrow, we must uphold to leave no one behind. Dear friends, our unique history and natural wonders are gaining attention amid the local and global increase in cultural heritage and development tourism. It is therefore clear that numerous African countries present a tremendous promise to become or remain a vibrant host for tourists, investors, and entrepreneurs, which is a major drive for employment and economic inclusion. Therefore, tourism actions and projects are leading continental communities to development. Once again, I thank you for affording African Tourism Board this opportunity to be part of this historical pace-setting event that will cement and forge a path towards collaboration between Africa and Asia, specifically Qatar. As a nation, it is an honor, and this is the beginning of a journey. We will need to work together side by side and hand in hand. Our appeal to all stakeholders, in particular in reference to our engagement today, is to come together as a bloc and assess the trend and impact of the pandemic and develop our own collective recovery models that will interpret the recovery emergencies that will form the baseline pillars of mitigating the economic impact and implementing and developing safety protocols within a well-coordinated response and fostering innovation. We noted segmentation easing as most countries are moving to levels that enables domestic travel. We therefore advocate a well-coordinated impact assessment that will determine our national, our regional, and our global activation, and this will be a gradual process. Our task as African Tourism Board and mandate is to rebrand the continent and its perennial perception battles, a consequence of its diversity and geographical enormity. We are obligated, colleagues, to rewrite our narrative truthfully and begin to score brand and drive perception victories. We are saying as African Tourism Board, the risks adjustment journey to recovery will begin with domestic and intra-regional tourism, or even economic recovery. The journey begins now, and let us work together. I thank you.
Thank you so very much, Cuthbert, for those very insightful comments. And you have spoken a lot of very strong words. The questions are beginning to flow in the Q&A session, but we are going to save a few of the questions for a little bit later on. One thing you raised, Cuthbert, is the issue of well-coordinated efforts amongst all the East African countries. Indeed, what you have said is completely true. And this is why here today we have a platform of the East African regions. Probably next time we'll have a platform with the whole of Africa, talking to the whole world about the strides that Africa is making on the tourism space. I also like the point about domestic tourism, and I know we're going to hear more about this from the panelists as they talk about the efforts that they have put in place to bring tourism back in their respective countries. Now, I would like to go to our next question, which before we get into each of the countries' enlightening presentations, I would like us to take a step back and reflect on the very first actions that each of these countries took after COVID hit them. Honorable Balala, if I start with you, what was your country's response? What was Kenya's response to the threat of COVID on the tourism industry? I think it's important that we get a perspective of what Kenya's response was before we get into the nitty-gritty of how it is that we're open. Honorable Balala?
Well, thank you very much, Doris, and thank you very much, African Tourism Board and Qatar Travel Market. This is a great opportunity, and definitely I want to recognize my older brother and mentor, Dr. Rifai. This is a very important platform today because we are discussing about the East Africa countries that are opening up now. Definitely, there's been a major hit of tourism all through, and not only in East Africa, but also in the world. But what did we do? I think the immediate shutdown was crucial so that you can stop not only the importation of the virus, but also stopping the spread of the virus within. So yes, a lockdown, a total lockdown. We in Kenya here, we had almost a 3-month lockdown. I know other countries have done it. Other countries may be very, very soft about it, but that total lockdown was required. And that's exactly what we in Kenya did. And most of the East African countries did, because stopping the importation was crucial. Yeah. And by then also, we didn't understand what this virus was all about. So we were confused. We were in a state of confusion. Mm-hmm. Now we understand it. So now we thought it would be post-corona, but it's not post-corona, it's within corona. How do we live with it? Mm-hmm. Because there will be no solution to this pandemic until a vaccine is found. Mm-hmm. When will it be found? How effective it will be? And then what are the side effects of this vaccine? So these are the nervous times. But I think people have accepted to live with it and move forward. And that's why Kenya is open today, because we put measures to move forward. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Honorable Balala. You've raised a very important point there that, look, it's not about post-corona. This virus is here pretty much to stay. So we may as well learn how to live with it, how to live around it. And if I may say, I was happy to hear that His Excellency President Uhuru Kenyatta did say this in one of his speeches, that look, we are not going to be afraid of this virus anymore. We're going to learn to live with it, and we're going to continue as a people of Kenya. And this again is why Kenya is open today. Thank you so much for that. If I may ask the same question to Ariella. Rwanda, I know you took some pretty stringent measures as soon as the first person hit, the first coronavirus patient actually was identified. Can you talk us through, just for 3 minutes, exactly what steps Rwanda took as soon as the virus hit? Ariella?
Thank you, Doris, for the question, and thank you so much for having us today. I thank you for giving us this opportunity to share our story as Rwanda. As many other countries, Rwanda was quite vigilant in containing the outbreak of COVID-19. As soon as Rwanda announced its first case, the country went into a complete lockdown with only essential services functional to contain the spread of the pandemic. Systems were put in place to ensure tracing and treatment of patients. There was a lot of public health education and awareness to prevent the COVID-19 spread. A task force was also put in place to ensure constant monitoring of the health situation and advise the government on reviving the economy as well as on the safe reopening. On the tourism side as well, a flexible booking policy was put in place for tourists who wanted to defer their visits. And we really want to appreciate our visitors who stood in solidarity with our industry and chose to defer instead of canceling. And we were able to allow these tourists to defer their visits with no penalty. Additionally, our government put in place an economic resilience fund to support the private sector to recover against the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. Obviously, these are tough times, but of course, tourism came as one of the priority sectors to support. Our reopening process has been gradual. We started domestically. We started with the risk assessment, obviously, to see if it was already the right time for us to reopen. We reopened first starting with the domestic market, and now we are open for international travel through Kigali International Airport. While this is the situation, the country continues to observe preventive measures across the country and specific guidelines for tourism businesses and tourists to reopen safely and also enjoy safely the tourism products that we have to offer.
Yeah, thank you very much, Ariella. As someone living in Kigali, I tell you, the day that announcement was made that we're locking down, you're looking in disbelief, wondering, is this serious? And it was. But at the end of the day, we knew it was for all our own good. And it's a good thing that the country took that measure, because now we are safe, not only within, but we can keep travelers safe as well, should they choose to travel back into the country. Devota, what are your views on this? Look, all ears and all eyes are on Tanzania. Tanzania took a completely unconventional approach. However, it was an approach that worked for them, and for that we commend Tanzania for that. What did Tanzania do, to contain the virus, to save, to protect the people, and to protect, potential future travelers into the country?
Thank you, Doris, for giving us this platform. Before I proceed to answer your question, I'd like to acknowledge that among us is our ambassador to Tanzania in Qatar, Her Excellency Fatma Rajabu. Karibu sana Mheshimiwa Balozi.
Yes, yes, from Qatar.
Yeah. Yes, Tanzania has a story to tell the world and also the African continent. We are an example of a destination, of a country who took a stand and made sure that its people remain healthy, and also we also made sure that the world knows that of the measures that we took to see that Tanzania remains safe. I'd like to applaud the efforts that our President, John Pombe Magufuli, took to make sure that Tanzania remains safe, and that its doors also were opened as one of the first countries in the continent in May. If you look at what Tanzania did, the first thing is that the Ministry of Health, the government through the Ministry of Health, appointed a national task force to deal with the pandemic. The task force, one of the things that the task force did was to come up with standard operating procedures, which were placed and used by the public, but also by the private sector. We will also be able to see through the media that the public is made to become aware of the pandemic and measures to see that it is controlled. You will recall that schools were closed for quite some time, but also airports were closed, businesses were closed, but the government made sure that everybody was able to know how the pandemic is and how to live with it. Of course, the president played a very big part in assuring people, the public, that this pandemic is in the country, but the government is making sure that the spread is does not continue. We saw that with SOPs in place, the private sector was able to be involved. They were also encouraged to develop their own SOPs. And different ministries were able to go and see whether these SOPs are being implemented, and that entities comply with the SOPs that the Ministry of Health put, but also other ministries such as the Ministry of Natural Resources and Tourism introduced. And we're glad to see that after these SOPs were put into place, Tanzania decided to open up to the world. And to date, we're proud to say that we're one of the first countries in Africa to start receiving tourists. I recently did a research to see how bad we were affected. For example, if you look at Serengeti National Park, in the months of May, we received less than 20 international tourists. But we're proud to see that today, over 817 non-resident tourists have come into Tanzania, and as we speak are in the Serengeti, looking at what we are proud to show to the world, the wildlife migration. So those are some of the measures that Tanzania did see and implement, and see that the private sector and public sector comply, and to see that Tanzania remains safe.
Thank you so very much, Devota. I'm glad that you mentioned those statistics there, because I'm sure a lot of people are wondering right now that, so you've opened up, but have you actually gotten any tourists? Thank you very much for that. Now, there's so many comments coming through, but I'd like to just pick on a few comments here. First of all, to acknowledge the presence of Devota, of Her Excellency, the Ambassador of Tanzania to Qatar. And she has a comment here. She says, Tanzania has done a tremendous job to remove fear from its citizens by taking health precaution from the beginning to make them understand and to know how to live with the disease. Now, this initiative, she says, has helped the Tanzanians to know how to protect themselves without any fear. And this has helped Tanzania to progress. Absolutely. Tanzania chose faith over fear, I guess, and that is definitely the message that we're giving to the rest of the world, that as Africa, we have chosen faith over fear, and that is why we're here today with a message of resilience and of hope. There's so many questions, but please keep the questions coming in. We will approach them as towards the end of the webinar. Some of them we'll pick as we go along, and so on and so forth. Someone has mentioned here saying that, could we please make sure that this session involves buyers into the continent? And I can say to you, definitely there are buyers who are interested in coming into the continent that have joined today. So it's not just a continent amongst ourselves, but it is, sorry, it's not just a conversation amongst ourselves, but it is a conversation amongst people who are interested in coming to East Africa. Thank you very much to our panelists for that question. And I'll go straight on to Dr. Rifai. Thank you so very much for joining us. It is such an honor and such a pleasure to have you in this panel today. And Dr. Rifai, one of your most memorable quotes are, and I quote, "Travel, my friends, opens minds, opens eyes, and opens hearts. We became better people when we travel." End of quote. In other words, you strongly believe that travel and tourism can make the world a better place. Now, for the purpose of this platform here today, because we are talking about the opening up of tourism, tell us a little bit more about this belief, and what were your immediate thoughts when tourism was brought to a halt worldwide? Dr. Rifai?
Thank you so much. That's a quote that I always remember and remind myself of.
Yeah.
It's important to know that travel and tourism is not anymore a luxury. It's not anymore just a blonde guy with blue eyes traveling from one place to another, writing books about it. It's people moving all over the world. While moving and interacting with people, you break all the stereotypes of people. You get to know the real people. That's what happened to me. Now, I have a passion for tourism, travel and tourism, but I also have a passion for Africa. I believe Africa is our mother. I truly believe so. I may not have the right color of skin or the right color of eyes, but I am African. We all came out of Africa. We all came out of East Africa after all. Everybody did that. So I believe the future is Africa. We'll have to come back to where we were to start with. Now, let me just answer your question by referring to a project that we've done with ETB now, Africa Tourism Board, which is Project Hope. This Project Hope is about Africa. You know, it's not by accident that God has spared Africa the wrath of Corona. I think Africa is destined to take leadership in so many things. And I believe that Africa is a continent that is about to wake up now and show the world the way. Because Africans have not been engaged in throughout their history in any acts of discrimination or any acts of hurt to the humanity at all. We owe Africa an apology. The rest of the world does that. Now, I'm not saying this for any particular reason, now because I'm with Africa. East Africa in particular is a very, very dear place to me. My very friend Najib Balala leads tourism in Kenya. Kenya is a very dear place to me. Tanzania is too. Another very, very, very good place is Rwanda. Rwanda, this very small place, like Qatar. Rwanda has proven that small is not only beautiful, small can be powerful. And really, Rwanda and Qatar have that in common. So I'm glad to be with you today. Project Hope, let me go back to it. Project Hope is about turning this crisis into an opportunity. We need to make sure that every crisis in the world, some opportunities come out of it. In the Chinese language, the word opportunity and the word crisis are just one word. We don't use two different words. There is a reason behind this. There are many opportunities. The world after Corona will not be the same as the world before Corona. But there is no end to the Corona thing. Our life is changing. Leadership in the world is changing. You can see today, every country is working on its own. International system has come to a standstill. The UN, the UAE, EU, Arab League, AU, all these organizations trying their best, but they're not getting up anywhere because each country is getting back to its own basic. That's what's really excellent. And I want to congratulate Tanzania for the efforts that they've done. Tanzania and Kenya have been an example on how to be strict in implementing measures, but at the same time, when you open up on a solid basis. Now, there are three phases for this recovery. Phase number one is to keep businesses alive. We need to pump in some money, some resources and some support to our hotels, to our airline industries, to our tour operators. They have to stay alive for a little while at least. Then we have to move into the second stage, which is domestic and regional tourism. I'm a firm believer in domestic tourism. Another quote I'd like you to remember from what I always like to say is the fact that no country can and should be enjoyed by any foreigner. It's not enjoyed by its own people first. Africans must know how to travel within Africa. They must be the first tourists in Africa. The United States and Europe, for example, 70% of their travel is domestic, because a country that's not enjoyed by its people cannot and will not be enjoyed by anybody from outside. We can't just keep treating those visitors coming from outside like God, coming from Mars, landing here. We have to make sure that our people enjoy our continent, our country first. And we have to do this is an opportunity now to correct something that is long being waiting to be corrected, which is the fact that our people must know their countries first. And now we have to do it anyhow, because nobody's coming to us. Nobody will come very soon. So it's time now to look into regional and domestic tourism. Now I know some countries are small. They cannot depend on domestic tourism, but regional tourism is a good thing to have. I'm aware that domestic and regional tourism is not as beneficial economically as international tourism. It does not fix the balance of trade, does not bring in hard currency, but it does keep our facilities open, keeps our jobs alive, which is very, very important. And more importantly, makes our people proud of their own country. So if any visitor comes from outside, we know what to tell him, we know how to receive him in a much better way, on equal terms, not on terms of high walls separating the local community from the visiting community. Project Hope depends on that. And Project Hope says that we have succeeded so far. Many countries in Africa, particularly Kenya, Tanzania, Rwanda, East Africa, Uganda as well, and Burundi, all 5 East African countries, which is my favorite part of Africa, has succeeded in containing the disease, confronting it and containing it. But now the real challenge is how to get out of this phase to the second phase, which is coming back to life, recovery. Because what's life? I know it's understandable that governments concentrated very much on the containment of the disease, but life is not worth it. It's not life with dignity, and life that's worth living. And that needs economic prosperity. That's why it's important now to move into the area of economic prosperity. That's what Project Hope is all about. In Project Hope, we've suggested that every country must dedicate 10% of its GDP, 10%. The United States, for example, dedicated 2.3 trillion US dollars, which is more or less 9% GDP, to pump into keeping things alive. You can borrow this. You could do whatever you want to do. This is legitimate borrowing if you don't have it in your reserves, because 1/3 of that must be paid directly to keep things alive. 2/3 of that we're suggesting that should be done into projects that would keep the economy alive. When you're passing through a hard time, you don't make it tighter on people. You spend more money. You remember in the United States in 1929, when there was the big depression, Roosevelt built all the highways in the United States in that time, and that's what picked it up. We need to build more. We need to construct more. Now, this is our opportunity to do that, and we can do it. 2/3 of that, 10% must go to these projects. 1/3 must go to direct support to our people, to our industry, tourism industry. That's the basis of Project Hope. Project Hope ends up with 4 very important elements. One is emphasis on domestic tourism and regional tourism. I spoke about that. Secondly is the growing influence of technology and our need to catch up with all the technological advancements. Everything has become virtual. Our life is changing. I had a daughter that lives in Dubai. She got married via Zoom. I was in Amman here in Jordan with his father. She was there with her fiancé, husband now. And the priest was on the 3rd night. And they got married there. It's not the best thing to do, but it's changing. There's no going back to it. I still remember the days when we used to leave our cars and go take our aeroplanes. We didn't have to pass through any metal detector, take off our shoes, take off our belts. Now it's become a way of life. I think wearing masks is going to become a way of life. Our friends in East Asia have realized this a long time ago. If you go to Korea, if you have a cough, you have to wear a mask. I don't think there's anything wrong about it. When you enter their houses, you have to take off your shoes until now. So it's part of people's culture, and culture is changing. Our way of life is changing, for sure. And technology is part of that change. The 3rd element is safety and security. Safety and security has become a very major concern now to people. People are not going to travel just because their government tell them they can travel. You need to communicate confidence and security. I was a little while ago on a very special session with Rwanda, with another Gulf state. And it was very clear how Rwandans have succeeded in eliminating this concept of fear. You go to Rwanda, you feel safe from all aspects, not just because of physical safety, because they're very serious about what they're doing. So communicating safety and security is very important. Perception is more important, as important as reality. The last element of Project Hope is training and retraining. All of these 3 things above, which is domestic tourism, technology, and safety and security, need new training or retraining of our own staff, because our staff are not used to that. You must retrain, for example, hotel porters, hotel reception desks. They have to deal with people in a different way. So Africa must embark on a massive national and regional training programs. This is in summary, in a nutshell, what Project Hope is all about. We have to talk to each and every country individually. On the 2nd of September, we have a ministerial meeting where we'll explain all this to many ministers from Africa. I think we need to work with each country individually. Each country now is on its own. The international system will be rebuilt from bottom up again, brick by brick. Each country will have to be a brick on its own. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Taleb. And I see you've already preempted. We're going to talk about Project Hope later on, but you've touched on it right now. And what I'd like to say to all the other countries, people from the other countries who are listening in, Project Hope is not a project that has been started by ATB for ATB. No, it is started by ATB for all Africans, and indeed for all other, countries in the world. It is about bringing back the message. Yes, it is for the world. It's about bringing the message of resilience and hope back to all the people of the world. Tourism cannot, and probably will take a long time to get back to normal if we don't sort of join hands together and contribute to what is Project Hope. Thank you very much for that, Dr. Rifai. And I'm glad you mentioned about safety and security and for the African destinations. One of the questions that I would like to pose to the speakers is that, look, being open, being willing, and being ready is one thing. But if we cannot communicate or, be articulate about our safety measures, then we would be barking up the wrong tree. Absolutely. So we need to convince the rest of the world just how ready we are and how we can keep them safe. Which brings me to the reason why we're here today. I touched earlier on about the fears that Africa would be hit extremely hard by the pandemic, and those fears have not come to fruition. And for that, I have to applaud Africa. But we're not here to talk about the doom and gloom today. We're here to talk about stories of resilience and of hope. So Kenya, Rwanda, and Tanzania have all opened their borders and ready to receive and welcome tourism back to experience the beauty that is Africa. Now, Devota, as we all know, Tanzania was the first country to open its borders back in May. And I understand that tourisms have been flooding in ever since. You have already given us the numbers earlier on. Right now, I'd like to give you the opportunity just to show us a little bit about Tanzania. We all know that, a picture is worth 1,000 words. And I know you have a wonderful presentation for us and also a short video about Tanzania as a destination. So Lara, as you prepare to bring, we'll start with the presentation and then Devota will end with the video. So if we could have Devota's presentation on the screen, please. And then as soon as she finishes, we can show a little bit of Tanzania's video. I have to say to the panelists, the questions are flooding in, the comments are flooding in, so we really need to be mindful of our the time that we're using to answer the questions, because we have to address our viewers, our attendees' questions as well. So Devota, I'm going to give you, shall I say, 6 minutes to go through your presentation, and then we'll watch you. Okay. Lara, are you ready? Okay, good. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Doris. I know that over the past 10 years, Tanzania has been in the forefront to see that we increase the number of tourist arrivals to Tanzania. We saw arrivals increase from 782,000 in 2010, and last year we received more than 1.5 tourists. We were expecting that 2020 would be a boom and that we would receive more. Unfortunately, come December, our dreams were shattered because of the outbreak of COVID-19. But Tanzania was not only affected in whole, but even if you look at the tourism industry, I think she's going a little bit too fast. If you look at the tourism industry, we were also very much affected with airlines closing down. And also some countries having travel restrictions. Tourists were not able to come to see Tanzania. As we are very pleased that in March this year, the government decided to open up its airspaces, and as a result, most international airlines were able to resume their services to Tanzania. We're talking about Ethiopian Airlines, which was the first one. In fact, Ethiopian Airlines was the last one to stop its services to Tanzania, but it was the first time to come back early in March. early in May, but we've got other airlines such as Qatar Airways, KLM, Emirates. All of those have decided to resume their flights to Tanzania, and the main reason why is because Tanzania decided to develop its standard operating procedures, which were put in place by both the public and private sectors. Through the video that you're going to see today, you will see the measures that have been put in place and how Tanzania has been able to open up. And as a result of the leadership of our President, John Pombe Magufuli, but also the cooperation between the public and the private sector, Tanzania was able to receive the Safe Travel Stamp from the WTTC. We're proud to say that this was done through the joint efforts between both the public and the private sector. I know my time is limited, that's why I'm rushing a little bit, but yes, definitely we are waiting. Tanzania is ready. We're waiting to receive tourists from all over the world. Come and see what we have to offer as one of Africa's most beautiful destinations, Tanzania Unforgettable. That was in a nutshell. I think I tried to cover everything that I wanted to tell you, but as I said again in the beginning, that we have put measures into place from the arrival at the airport entry points. Tourists find that they'll enter Tanzania safe, and they will leave Tanzania safe too. So we'd like again to welcome you all. Enjoy the short clip, and I hope that you will make the right decision to come and see Tanzania in the near future.
Thank you very much, Devota. As I'm scanning, let's watch a video now. Thank you.
I'm happy to inform you that Tanzania has reopened its skies and is ready to welcome and share its wonders with you. Since your safety and the health and that of our people is of utmost importance, the government of the United Republic of Tanzania has put in place various standard operating procedures for various areas and services that you will come into contact with during your stay, as to minimize the risk of coronavirus infections and ensure that your visit is truly unforgettable.
I'm very happy to be one of the first tourists returning here to Tanzania after Corona. It's a fantastic experience. People have been super friendly to us. Everybody here is very aware of the coronavirus and preventing inspection. Of course, when I'm with people, I'm wearing a mask, and everywhere you go, there are places to wash hands.
We were a little bit worried about Corona before we came, like everybody would be in this day and age, but I have to say that I've never felt so safe. It's really beautiful, and it's really a once-in-a-lifetime experience, and now it's your time to come before everybody else. So, karibu sana.
With all these measures and others, be assured that you will be in safe hands and your visit will be unforgettable.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Devota, for that wonderful presentation. And indeed, the video that is all making us want to go back to Tanzania for all those unforgettable memories. I do have a question from a panelist, and I'd like us to address it now. And someone has just asked that, do citizens from EU countries need a visa to visit Tanzania right now?
Yes, they do. They do need a visa, and they can get it. For most countries, they can get it on arrival from all entry points. Yeah.
Okay, and what are the situations in terms? Do they need to have a COVID test to enter Tanzania, or do they need to be quarantined? What are the entry requirements for Tanzania right now?
Tanzania removed the restriction of, removed quarantine. We don't have any quarantine right now.
Right.
All they need is to produce a certificate showing that they're COVID-19 negative.
Okay, so as long as they bring that from the country that they're traveling from, you're willing, you will respect that. Thank you so very much. I must say that will go a long way to encouraging travel, because, well, it is what it is, and obviously your testimony for Tanzania speaks for itself. We're going to save the questions for a little bit later. Ariella, I'd like to turn to you now. As Dr. Rifai pointed out, safety and security are paramount. as we begin to revive tourism back in our continent. Now, Rwanda is arguably the safest country in Africa and one of the top 10 safest countries in the world. Well done to you, Rwanda. The country's response to COVID was remarkable, and it comes as no surprise that Rwanda has now opened up for tourism. So Ariella, please talk us through the country, the tourism offer, and what measures you have put in place. Actually, no, you already talked about the measures, but just talk to us about what the country has to offer, because there are many people who are throwing in many questions wanting to know about Destination Rwanda. I know you also have a presentation. Lara, let's have Ariella's presentation up on the screen, and followed with the video. Again, may I ask, let us stick to the time. We have about 6 minutes, Ariella, so let us do the best that we can. Thank you.
Thanks, Doris, and thanks, Honorable Rifai, for very kind words towards Rwanda. We're very honored, and we really believe in partnerships as we navigate these challenging times, but we are very optimistic that these we'll be able to overcome them. So as I said earlier, our approach to reopening has been gradual. You can go to the next page, the next slide, please, Lara. So we've been open since 17 June. We started first with domestic and also to international travelers that were arriving with charter flights, groups or individuals. And commercial flights started since the beginning of this month. And today, we are ensuring that safety and health guidelines are put in place for the staff, for the air crews, in line with our KO guidelines, WHO, and also our Ministry of Health. In terms of safety guidelines, as you pointed out, Doris, I did mention a few of them, but I think it's very important for me to actually go in details here. Next slide, Lara. So all passengers in transit or on arrival will have to present a COVID-19 PCR test, negative results, sorry, of a test taken from a certified laboratory within 120 hours of departure to Rwanda. So this means that you have up to 5 days to take your test, and then you can depart afterwards. Upon arrival, to ensure that you are safe, you recreate safely within the country, a second PCR test is taken, and 24 hours of waiting time is applicable in designated hotels. I think some of the participants were asking what kind of ranges we have for accommodation in designated hotels. I think it's, I responded in writing, but it's also important that I mention that we have about 24 designated hotels, you know, ranging from all categories, from budget to 5-star, from $35 a night, all inclusive, to $200 all inclusive. It's very important that I mention this because, you know, we cater for all tastes and needs.
Right.
Upon receiving your results, you are free to check out and start experiencing what the country has to offer. Quickly going into, you know, to maybe what the country has to offer. Our country is located in East Africa, and you rightly say that, you know, it's very important to, you know, facilitate travel. Can you go to the next slide, where you have traveling to Rwanda? Again, thank you. Our airport is serviced by all these airlines, but of course not all of them have fully reopened their operations to Rwanda. And currently you can travel from anywhere in the world and receive your visa on arrival. It's very important to facilitate travel. Going to the next slide, maybe to say what makes Rwanda remarkable. We're the safest country in Africa and 5th in the world. Kigali is arguably one of the, you know, cleanest cities in the world. With 4G connectivity across the country, you can self-drive, you remain connected to the world as you experience the country. We're the second easiest place to do business in Africa. We continue to make business registration and doing business very easy, even during this time, as we use digital resources to facilitate business people who are still committed to invest in Rwanda. Mm-hmm. And we continue to invite the whole world to come, not only to visit Rwanda, but also to invest in Rwanda. In terms of what the country has to offer, We are a country rich in biodiversity. We have, from the majestic mountain gorillas to the big five, to birding experiences and rich cultural and heritage experiences, as well as conservation-led tourism experiences. I think I can stop here as we play the video to show you how Rwanda is prepared to receive you as you visit Rwanda. Thank you.
Thank you, Ariella. Lara, can we have the video?
Sure.
Mm-hmm.
The safety and well-being of all visitors to Rwanda is our #1 priority. This is why we've introduced new measures to ensure that visiting Rwanda is both safe and seamless. From the moment you step off the plane, our team of health professionals are ready to welcome you and take your COVID-19 test upon arrival. After a short waiting period at designated hotels, tourists can enjoy the natural beauty, history, and culture of our country. As custodians of the majestic mountain gorillas, we take their safety very seriously. As a result, we have put additional measures to ensure their health, as well as those of the visitors that go to the national parks. Similar measures are in place in all the other touristic sites within the country, as well as hotels. Which is why Rwanda has received the World Travel and Tourism Council Safe Travels Global Safety and Hygiene Stamp. As our international airport opens on the 1st of August, we welcome you to visit Rwanda and experience our warm hospitality. Welcome to Rwanda, Murakazaneza.
Rwanda is indeed open. Thank you very much, Ariella. And that was a wonderful message from the CEO of Rwanda Development Board, Ms. Claire Akamanzi. Welcoming all of us back to remarkable Rwanda. Thank you so much, and I'm glad to find that you not only taking care of the Rwandan people, but you're also taking care of the Rwandan wildlife, and you're big on conservation. And I think this is something that Kenya is also very big on. Honorable Najib Balala.
Yes.
We've saved pretty much, well, I don't want to say, but maybe we've saved the good stuff for almost last. No, we're talking about your presentation. Please tell us about magical Kenya. We've all missed it. We've all, looking forward to coming back to visit Kenya. I know you have a presentation for us, followed by a video. Thank you very much. Let us go through that. And again, there are hundreds of questions for you, Honorable Najib, and I don't know if you've seen them, but I'll try and pick them as you do your presentation so we can ask them after you've done your presentation.
Thank you very much, Doris, and all colleagues who are the panelists, and particularly the Chairman of African Tourism Board, and as well, Dr. Rifai. I want to appreciate Lara and her team from QTM. This is a wonderful opportunity and platform for Africa, and also to share to the world that we are ready. And if we don't communicate, nobody will know about it. So yes, colleague, let's all communicate. And I don't care if it's Tanzania communicating, if it's Rwanda. It's not about Kenya, it's about Africa, the continent of Africa. We need to be united, and this is the time that purpose has come to unite and sell Africa. So yes, I can tell you that Kenya is ready, willing and open. And we have appreciated the tourism industry was booming. For 2020, for us, tourism industry was booming. And you can see what happened when COVID-19 and its impact in tourism. 98% of international tourists dropped between January and May compared to 2019. 47% in Africa from January to May, again, compared to 2019. Again, you could see IATA. The biggest enabler for travel is the aviation sector. So we must appreciate their synergies need to be built with the aviation sector. And despite we are ministries of tourism, but we are actually working with the ministries of transport so that aviation can revive. Without aviation, nobody will travel to Africa. So we have an interest, and you can see 94% of the aviation sector has been affected. In terms of revenue from ICAO is almost $400 billion losses from January to May. You can see $1.2 trillion losses in the tourism industry itself, because there is where the revenues are. You can see that the impact in tourism in Africa as well, WTTC predicted a scenario of 71% decline in international arrival and 66% decline in domestic arrival. And this is real. And we are either fortunate or unfortunate because our numbers are small in Africa. We are only about 70 million people come to Africa. And that small number has created 21 million jobs in Africa. What do we need to do to improve this? My wish, as Najib Balala, I wish we can be united. And I'm glad African Tourism Board is working on that, so that our narrative is not about just bombing and poverty and health issues. Our narrative is the destination for vacation is in the continent of Africa.
Yeah.
This is our narrative. And truly speaking, we have everything from the pyramids to the deserts, to the beaches, to the animals, to conservation, to culture. Name it and you'll find it in Africa. But we haven't exploited that situation. And I feel that, and I've spoken this to the African Union, if there's one thing we need to do is to build infrastructure, connectivity between the African nations, so that I don't have to worry about a visa to Benin, or Benin to have a visa to Kenya or to Tanzania. No, all African countries should move from one country to another without visas. Yeah, and if we have to have visas, let's have visas on arrival. So we kill bureaucracy. This is what we'll have to develop. Africa is 1.2 billion people. If we build infrastructure, we will have 300 to 400 million people traveling. That will be sufficient for us to build our economies. So I'm not worried about 2 million people I receive in Kenya from overseas. No, I'll be more concerned on building 5 million Africans travel within Africa to my country. So this is what we should look at it. But yes, there's major losses in travel. And you could see the GDP, all of us, our GDP is almost 10% tourism. And we have been affected now. So that is a major loss together. In Kenya, you can see Kenya's revenue is $1.6 billion revenue, 10% of the GDP. And again, 95% of business is down. We employ almost 2.5 million people have been affected and they're jobless today. So what have we done? What have we put as a priority? Kenya has done is provide liquidity and protect jobs, recover confidence through safety and security, public-private collaboration for the efficient reopening, harmonize the protocols and coordinate them well, open the borders, but with responsibility, add value to jobs through technology and innovation and sustainability. So the government has done is given 100% tax relief to the people who are the lower cadre, particularly in the tourism industry. People have been in the lower cadre for a long time. That is almost $200 per month. So that is 100% tax relief, reduction of personal tax and corporate tax from 30% to 25%, reduction of VAT from 16% to 14%. And then also what we have done is that we have given a reduction of turnover tax of the low SMEs from 3% to 1%. And then you can see that we have provided a soft loan scheme for the refurbishment of hotels to improve our infrastructure. Almost $30 million, that is for the loans. And then another 1 billion shillings, which is $10 million to support conservancies outside the protected areas. These are community conservancies. These are community rangers employed by the community and were supported by the tourism sector. but now they don't have job. So the government is paying salary for the next 1 year. And then provide another $10 million to support community scouts around the protected areas. And then definitely allocate $10 million to market Kenya overseas. But more important this time is to market Kenya to Kenyans. So domestic market is important. Definitely then we worked very closely and we launched the magical Kenya Tourism and Travel Health and Safety Protocols, the new normal. We decided we are going to live with it and we are going to make sure that we have what it takes to safeguard our health, particularly us here locally. But definitely we knew from the 1st of August, we opened our airspace and the whole world is welcomed. Then we categorize countries and it depends. We just got this list from WHO. So there's high risk, you are required to come with 14 days quarantine. Low risk and medium risk, you get a negative COVID-19 certificate and you're allowed and enjoy your holidays. So that is what we have done. But also the principles, you must have a mask, you must sanitize, you must take your temperature, and you must wash your hands. These are measures we cannot avoid for now. Yeah, definitely we worked with World Travel and Tourism Council for the Safe Travel Stamp. We were the first African country to get this stamp. And now we are working with African Tourism Board and rebuilding travel. We will be the first country, that is today in the evening, Kenya will get the Safer Travel Stamp evaluated and endorsed by rebuildingtravel.com. So we are working with African Tourism Board and others to make sure that we have a safer stamp. Definitely, we thought in the next 1 year, people will have fear. They will not travel internationally. People will travel next door. What do we do? So we encourage Kenyans. You've seen, I've been in the forefront promoting Kenya for Kenyans. And we have engaged our legendary, iconic champion who ran below 2 hours, Eliud Kipchoge. He's now the brand Kenya, Magical Kenya ambassador. And definitely we went to Masai Mara with him. We did the promotion. We saw the migration you can see there. We enjoyed ourselves, but we told Kenyans they can come and enjoy themselves as well. Definitely we have another migration, which is the humpback whale that comes from the northern part of Kenya to Antarctica. So this happens every July and August. And definitely we enjoyed ourselves last weekend. And definitely we were with President Uhuru Kenyatta, walking around and telling people to travel, enjoy yourself, Mombasa Raha, hashtag Mombasa Raha. I climbed Mount Kenya and everybody can do it. And my next target is to climb Mount Kilimanjaro.
Yes.
So I am coming soon to Tanzania to climb Mount Kilimanjaro. And definitely we had our big supporter, Richard Quest from CNN. He came and visited our giraffe manor in Nairobi and had breakfast with the giraffe. But this is important to tell Kenyans, you can enjoy that. As Doris, you said, we are the champions of conservation in Africa. Not only in Africa, in the world. We have the only white northern rhinos in the world are here. The survivors, the 2 survivors, you see me there with them. Those are the female survivors. And we are doing a research to make sure that we can produce more. Definitely, we are supporters. We support the endangered species, rhinos, now giraffe, elephants, and the turtles. So yes, the magic awaits you. So this is my presentation, and I want to share with you the video so that next time your next booking is in Kenya. Thank you very much.
Thank you so very much, Honorable Balala. That was amazing. Very magical. We know absolutely why Kenya is known as Magical Kenya, with all the captivating and magical things that they are for us to do. Lara, please let us share the Kenyan video so we can see exactly what Honorable Balala has been speaking about.
Sure. Just 1 minute. Again.
Okay. Can I throw in a question as we wait for the video, Lara?
Yes, please.
Okay. Honorable Balala, there are quite a few questions here for you, but I'm going to pick one where somebody by the name of Regina Mwengi is asking, My question is directed to the Honorable Balala. Would you kindly give us clarity on travel requirements into Kenya for short business visits? What happens with those traveling from Tanzania through the borders? We know that the airports are open, but what is the situation with Namanga? Do they need a certificate of COVID? Will there be quarantine required? How does that work? 1 minute to answer that, Honorable Balala, please.
Thank you very much, Doris. And I saw Mengi asking that question. First of all, our road borders are still closed only for essential commodities. Our airspace is open and the whole world is welcome to Kenya. Right. We have 3 categories given by WHO. One is high risk. High risk requires you to have 14 days quarantine. And then the low risk and medium risk, you have to just produce a negative certificate of COVID-19 from recognized organization like WHO. So the minute that is given, then you're welcome to come and you don't need any quarantine then.
Right. Okay. So Namanga is not yet open. So any tourists wanting to come through Kenya into Tanzania would have to use the airspace.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. And Lara, just one more question, please, before we, okay.
Okay.
All right. No, it's fine. Carry on with the video and then I'll ask the question. Thank you.
The wait is over. After what seemed like endless months and weeks of staying at home, it's time to once again take to travel the world. It's time to go on an adventure, relax, unravel, and unwind. At Magical Kenya, we have missed you. And while you were away, a lot happened. Our rhino population increased in number. The vast plains of the Mara became greener. And we reviewed our health and safety protocols to ensure a safe travel to destination Kenya in the new normal. We have put in place all the necessary measures to make your travel safe and relaxed. From your flight to your hotel of choice, or even as you head out for a game drive, nothing has been left to chance. And there's quite a lot of catch-up to do. Come experience the great wildebeest migration at the Masai Mara. Or if you're into aquatic escapades, then the incredible whale migration at the coast awaits you. So pack up your bags and get ready to spoil yourself to an exciting adventure as you rediscover the true magic of Kenya. Magical Kenya. Rediscover the magic.
Wonderful. Thank you so very much for that very captivating presentation and for the video, Honorable Balala. Look, we are running so fast where time is concerned, so I really will have to go straight into the Q&A session. If I can get your permission, panelists, is it okay if we start addressing the Q&As right now? Because we've got so many questions and I wouldn't want to finish this session without addressing at least a few of them. So let me start this question. We have a question here from Laban Rotich, and his question is going to African Tourism Board. So Cuthbert or Dr. Rifai, feel free for one of you to answer this question. And he is asking, what is the African Tourism Board doing to standardize pricing of tourism products and services in Africa? Is this something that Africa Tourism Board have a mandate over, or is each country working on their own pricing plans? Kat, would you like to take that?
Thank you so much, Doris. Look, our advocation as African Tourism Board is to see a well-coordinated approach, especially within the continent, where tourism, the emphasis should be repackaged to be user-friendly, especially to our domestic market. Africa must be accessible and affordable to its own people and by its own people. And I'm glad that the Honorable Minister Balala, who is also part of the honorary circle within the African Tourism Board, and also who leads as the chair of ministers within the United Nations World Tourism Organization. These are the discussions that we emphasize behind the closed doors, and also inclusion on our most of the ministers, and with under the Project Hope led by our chairperson, Dr. Taleb, where we are having discussions with our African ministers to say this is the time, and actually taking advantage of being closed during this period of the pandemic, so that we regroup and see how best we can actually assist and facilitate. The minister has emphasized especially the connectivity issue, where it's so sad that when I get a Schengen visa, I'm able to visit 26 countries. I mean, European countries, which is absurd. And here we are in our own motherland. We cannot afford to be traveling across our borders. So we need definitely to change the narrative, and we are emphasizing that as African Tourism Board.
So I think just to touch on the point about domestic tourism, all the speakers, including Dr. Rifai, has spoken about promoting domestic and regional tourism. In the absence of things like the single visa for Africans, these kind of initiatives are never going to see fruition. So I'd like to hope that going forward, we can be talking, we can be singing a different song and telling a different story about enabling travel within the African region, make it easier for ourselves. Thank you very much.
Probably Doris, I can come in.
Yes, please do. Yeah, please do.
I think for the short term, we need to encourage domestic tourism, but I appreciate that not all countries have the power of the domestic tourism because the spending power. But I think we need to invest heavily in domestic. And I want to agree with Taleb Rifai. If ourselves cannot appreciate our products, you think outsiders appreciate our products? I think we need to think differently. And this is the new normal in Africa. We need to think out of the box or throw the box. And that's why I want to emphasize, Africa has a ready market of 300 million to travel. What can we do as government to open our borders to fellow Africans, to build infrastructure and connect from here to Cairo? Why can't we do that? What is stopping us from doing it? I think we all need to play a role. That's why the issue of infrastructure, the issue of air connectivity, the issue of visa regime, these are paramount. We must invest today. In 5 years' time, we'll be resilient and we will be able to overcome the challenges of travel advisories and all threats that stop people from traveling into the continent. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much for your contribution. Ariella and Devota, I know that, let me start with you, Ariella. I know that Rwanda have got a very comprehensive domestic tourism drive going on right now within the country to encourage the Rwandan people to be able to appreciate what Rwanda has to offer, just like Honorable Najib Balala has said. How are we doing with that? Can you just talk to us a little bit? Can you do 1 minute to talk about the domestic tourism, and perhaps other people listening can learn from what Rwanda is doing?
Thanks, Doris. So yes, indeed. So it's very important for tourism boards and the tourism stakeholders in the private sector to embrace the domestic market and also the regional markets, because these are ready to travel and they are quite, most of them are open. So in partnership with the private sector in Rwanda, we've had a drive, like you said, as part of our tourism recovery plan, with a focus on domestic and regional markets, especially now that the airport is open, with unmissable offers for tourism experiences in national parks and beyond. And this is being successfully promoted, and we're seeing very positive signs of recovery as these markets are responding positively.
Wonderful. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for that, Ariella. So we've heard it all now. There's wonderful things and missable offers happening in Rwanda. We should all take advantage of it, starting with South Africa and obviously the other destinations. The next question here is from Soli Moeng, and the question again is to African Tourism Board. And he's asking, does the African Tourism Board have standard health safety protocols that it encourages various African states to abide by? Now, I understand Soli's question because he wants Africa to have standard health and safety protocols that the whole of Africa can abide by. We don't want a situation where we have one country doing one thing and the next country doing another. What are your views on this, Cuthbert or Dr. Rifai? Does the ATB have this? Are you planning to have this, or is it covered in Project Hope?
I can answer that if you don't mind.
Thank you. Please, 1 minute, please, Dr. Rifai.
Okay. We don't have that, and we don't intend to, because
Okay.
WTTC and many other organizations are doing that. And because it takes a lot of energy to try and unify all of these things. What we're most interested in is agreeing on principles, because the protocols themselves are available. Now, unifying these protocols is a very good objective, but I don't think we can do it on an African level alone. It has to be done internationally. Otherwise, it won't work for the long term. It can work on an African level only, which is important. Now, I want to also take this opportunity to respond to the pricing question that was raised before, if you don't mind. Do I have time to do this?
Larry, yeah, I'm sure we can. Yes, please. Another 2 minutes I can grant you.
Okay. The issue of pricing is always followed by supply and demand. You can't have governments interfere in these prices. But when we speak about domestic tourism, we have to change our state of mind thinking. We can't think the same way we're thinking like Europeans or Americans coming to Africa. We have to offer, private sector has to think in a different way. And that's what we're asking them to do. Governments will have to make it easy for them to package these offers for local people in a different way and in a reasonable way. The prices have to be done lower, definitely. You can't have somebody coming and staying in a reservation park at the same prices that the European is, because he doesn't want to see that anyhow. But he wants to experience a different kind of experience. He goes with his family. He wants to see some of his kids doing something different. It's not like any international visitor coming to visit us. So the prices will have to be different. But you can't have government interfere directly into that. Thank you.
Lovely. Thank you very much. I hope we've answered your question there, Soli, but if you need more, just feel free to post it again. Now, there's a bit of a question that even I'm interested in knowing, and this goes to both Devota and Honorable Balala. There's quite a few questions asking, when will Kenya Airways and Precision Air start traveling within the countries? When will Kenya Airways go to Tanzania, and when will Precision be able to go to Kenya? Is that something we can discuss here in this panel?
Yes, so we are working on it, and very soon we will be able to have these airlines traveling to our countries.
Right. Thank you very much. I think we've answered your question there, Annabella. I know it's an interest to everyone. Nobody goes to either of the countries without wanting to go to the next one. So it is a very pertinent question, but we will, as we've said, we've heard Honorable Najib say, it's being worked on. Now, the next question that we have here, we'd like to tackle before we start wrapping up. Lara, there's so many questions. I will need another extra 10 minutes just to go through these questions. I hope that is okay. But first, let me answer Jonathan Odongo, who's asking, how can we get all these magnificent videos shared today? In other words, they are blown away by the country videos. Is there a way that we can share these videos with them? I'm sure there is. So, well, there are contacts. At the end of this video, Jonathan, you will see contacts of each countries via email. Please contact them, and I'm sure they will be happy to share the videos with you. Otherwise, they are online. They are online, right? These videos are online, panelists?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can get the videos online, Jonathan. Thank you very much for that. We have a question from Victoria Chale who's asking, what efforts are being taken to promote domestic tourism within, I think, the relevant countries? Each of you have already answered this question. I believe Rwanda has. Honorable Balala. You have Devota, you haven't quite touched on domestic tourism for Tanzania, but I do know it is happening. Would you like to speak about that for just about a minute, just to share with our audience today what efforts Tanzania is putting in place for domestic tourism?
We do see the importance of domestic tourism, especially during this period of COVID-19. As Tanzania Tourism Board, through the Ministry of Natural Resources and Tourism, we've come up with a domestic tourism strategy, which will also include promoting regional tourism within the East African region and also the continent as a whole. We are working very closely with the private sector. As we speak right now, the private sector has introduced special rates for its residents, but also East African citizens. So those are some of the measures that Tanzania has put into place to see that domestic and regional tourism is promoted.
Lovely, thank you very much for that. And to all the panelists here today, we've talked about our countries. We've talked about the infrastructure that you have put in place to ensure safety. What you haven't talked about is those incredible men and women, the suppliers, the service providers. How have you prepared them to be ready in order to, to continue facilitating the health and safety measures that need to be implemented in your respective countries? It's all well and good to have clean airports, it's all well and good to have all that, but if we cannot have the rest of the service providers, the professional conference organizers, the DMCs, if we don't have them aligned, then all these efforts will have gone to waste. I'm opening this to anybody who wants to tackle it, because it's very important.
Yes,
if we have
please.
tour operators. Yeah.
Please.
Yes, please.
Project Hope talks about training and retraining. This is all about retraining and requalifying people. I mentioned that very quickly in my presentation. I think everybody that works in tourism now needs to be retrained, not just trained, to keep his own safety, his or her own safety, and to perform their role in the new norm, so to speak. So countries must embark, governments must embark on huge national training programs. That's the idea. We're doing that through ATB as well.
Sorry, could you say that again?
Opportunity. We were providing this opportunity to each and every country through ATB. That will be a main discussion that we'll be having on 2nd of September when we speak to the ministers.
Okay, that is absolutely fantastic news, Dr. Rifai. So starting the 2nd of September, African Tourism Board will be running these training programs to bring anyone and everyone working within the tourism sector retrained and reskilled to be able to provide the services that they need to provide. And that is across the board, from conference organizers to anyone at all. And will these courses be done online?
A partnership with so many international bodies that we are providing hundreds and hundreds of courses.
Doris, but can I comment on something?
Yes, please, Honorable.
I think it's a high time we have the new normal, and the new normal is to throw the box altogether. We need to reinvent ourselves to survive.
Survive was the president and CEO of the World Travel Tourism Council based in London, and she was also the former Minister of Tourism for Mexico. We got.
Am I okay?
Yes, you can carry on now, yeah.
Okay. I said we need to throw the box and to rethink, and the new normal should be reinvent everything afresh. We need to be in the forefront on digital platforms. We need to use technology. We need to totally retrain everything that we used to practice before, because there'll be a new clientele coming in with new demands.
Absolutely.
Millennials coming in. People will want more value than they pay. So definitely we need to rethink about it. I think the traditional, conventional way, and for me always I say, the idea of out of Africa needs to change. This is a new Africa. This is a new Africa. It's not about travelers coming to Africa and write stories and go through the rugged and the roughness of Africa in the dusty countryside. No, the new Africa can accept the people with internet in your lodge, internet everywhere. That is a human right. That's a reality of life. Yes, you want a vacation, you want privacy, you want to cut off from the rest of the world, but it's a choice for you to have technology and to have internet. So yes, we need to rethink afresh because things have changed and we cannot sell Africa the same way it was sold during the colonial times. We need to leave the hangover of colonialism to the new millennium where Africa, I can tell you, we are very proud. We are 1.2 billion people. 70% of the people in Africa are young people. And that is the drive we should have it. And then number two, which is I think is very important, Africa needs not only to ignore the world, but they need to look inwards. Why can't I go to Tanzania and have a safari? Why can't I go to Ethiopia and look at those chimpanzees in Ethiopia and look at the culture that Ethiopia has? Why can't we go to Morocco and enjoy the culture in Marrakesh? All these things we can do. I don't say we don't go to Paris, we don't go to New York. We go to New York. But what do we do to support ourselves as a continent of Africa? Thank you.
Thank you very much for that, Honorable Balala. To be quite honest, my phone here, I'm being bombarded by questions for the panelists, but I do know that we've run out of time. So honestly, Lara, I don't know, as the organizers, do you allow us to have another 15 minutes? And the panelists, are you okay to answer just 2 more questions? I really have just 2 more questions.
We can have around 7 minutes till around 10 minutes maximum, please.
Okay. Wow. Okay. So I don't even know which question to tackle here. All right. I will go with a question from Betty Radier. And this question is going to ATB. She's asking, what is ATB doing to get the challenges around implementation of the Yamoussoukro decision around open skies addressed so that Africa's travel potential finally becomes a reality? And I think this is a very pertinent question for ATB because as you endeavor to make Africa the destination of choice, this is a hurdle that needs to be overcome. Are you able to answer this question now, Dr. Rifai or Cuthbert? If not, we can arrange to get back to Betty with an answer to this question. What she's asking is we need to have a discussion about Africa as a viable trading and tourism bloc. Are we able to answer this question now?
Cuthbert.
Dr. Ratif, can you lead us on that one? Because I would actually suggest that some of our discussions would have to.
Okay, we can address this another time.
Platform.
Yes, no worries. In the interest of time, thank you very much, Betty, for your question.
We'll gladly appreciate that.
Yes. Okay, lovely. Thank you very much. And another question here we have again to ATB that we have Jacinta Nzioka who's asking, is ATB speaking to the Africa Union to ensure that tourism is given importance in Africa, in Africa's agenda? Are these conversations being had? I think probably a yes or no answer will suffice. And then Jacinta will know that these conversations are being had. Cuthbert, is ATB speaking to AU about this?
Yes, we are actually in discussion with the AU, and we will be actually signing an MOU so that we integrate all our programs working hand in hand with them. Yes.
Okay. Thank you so very much for that, panelists. I know we have so many other questions, but we are running out of time and we will need to wrap up now. I have to say it has been a very exhilarating session and I did anticipate that, and I'm glad that we did not disappoint where that is concerned. And again, I'm sorry if we didn't get to answer your question. Hopefully, if we are going to have a part 2 of this webinar, which we should, we're going to speak with the relevant countries to have a part 2 of this webinar so that we can have more engagement and have more of your issues addressed. So for now, I'd like to thank you all for having tuned in. If you'll allow me, I'd like to allow our panelists to wrap up with 1 minute to wrap up so we can begin to close this session. Thank you so very much to all our panelists. I'll start with you, Honorable Balala. Please, let us have your wrap-up remarks. 1 minute.
Thank you very much. I want to assure you that Kenya is open and the magic awaits you. But more important, we want Africa to open up And we want Africa to connect, because what is good for Africa is good for Kenya. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Ariela, shall I ask you to do your wrap-up remarks?
And we'll be very short. We're welcoming everyone, the whole world, Africa, and everyone, you know, who's been wanting to visit Rwanda. This is the time. You are assured of really safe and seamless experiences in Rwanda. Thank you, Doris.
Absolutely. And your banner actually says Rwanda is open. So if anyone doesn't see that, see it now. It is open, it is ready, it is willing. Devota, please let us have your wrap-up remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, Doris. Tanzania is safe, Tanzania is ready, and we are waiting to welcome the world, but mostly Honorable Balala. The borders are open, Tanzania, and we'll be waiting for you to climb Mount Kilimanjaro very soon.
I'm coming in November.
Okay.
I think if he conquered Mount Kenya, he's going to conquer Kilimanjaro.
Absolutely, absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you. Dr. Rifai, could we ask you to give us your wrap-up remarks, please? Thank you.
Of course, my dear. It's wonderful to be with you all. I want to congratulate all Rwanda, Kenya, and Tanzania for a wonderful job they're doing. You should believe in Africa. Africa is the future without doubt. Please do not ever give up on that dream. It's the dream of every one of us. The world needs Africa. Thank you so much.
The world needs Africa. There you go. If we need a message to take home with us, that should be it. And all of us as Africans, we have a responsibility to make that happen. Thank you very much, Dr. Rifai. Cuthbert, last but not least, ATB's closing remarks.
Thank you so much, Doris. Thank you so much, colleagues. I would say tourism is a half-exposed treasure chest. The lid is half open and not many of our people can get to the jewels. If we all work together, we can prise the lid open so that the benefits of tourism and the natural and cultural heritage of our continent can be shared by our youth, by our women, and all our people. Tourism is about connectivity, bringing people together from all walks of life. It is the only sector that breaks the divide that separates us as continental citizens. So it is no longer a benefit to a few or a luxurious component for the rich, but a necessity to all. Therefore, the disruptions has not only caused distress to a few, but has affected the whole populace of humanity. We need to start appreciating and acknowledgement that tourism is the only entity that joins us together, that keeps us smiling. So therefore, Africa is open. Let us explore. Let's enjoy what God has bestowed upon us. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for those inspiring words, Cuthbert. We hear you, we understand, and we are ready. Amen. So, ladies and gentlemen, what can we take home with this message today? It's all about collaboration in Africa. It's all about collaboration. We can't reach the destinations we want to reach if amongst ourselves we do not collaborate. We need to come up with one message for Africans by Africans. And that is what I would like to leave you with this day. Now, it has been a truly engaging session. And unfortunately, we need to come to a close. I'd like to thank all our panelists. Thank you so very much for your inputs and for enlightening us with all your wonderful stories about the opening of your destinations. We can truly see that Africa is indeed ready, it is willing, and it is open. To all our participants, every single one of you, you have been amazing. You have been incredible. Thank you so much for your comments and your questions. This session would not have been as great without each and every single one of you. And last but not least, to our organizers, Qatar Travel Mart, Next Fairs, and Qatar National Tourism Council. Thank you so very much for extending this invitation to us today. To Lara and Nikki and all the organizing team, you've been amazing, and it has been a pleasure working with you. On behalf of Africa Tourism Board and all our esteemed panelists, thank you so very much. We look forward to welcome you to magical Kenya, remarkable Rwanda, and Tanzania unforgettable. Asanteni sana, murakaza neza. Thank you very much. Over to you, Lara.
A big thank you to all our star speakers, Honorable Najib, Mr. Cuthbert, Ms. Devota, Dr. Taleb Rifai, Ms. Ariella, and our shining moderator, Ms. Doris. Thank you to all our participants in today's very exciting and interesting session indeed. You have taken us during this webinar on a marvelous journey into Africa. QTM is really very proud to be the platform in which the African Tourism Board's vision is conveyed to the global tourism industry, positioning Africa to be the tourism destination of choice. We definitely look forward to another live and face-to-face session dedicated for Africa during QTM 2021. Once again, thank you everyone and see you next time.
Thank you, Lara. Bye. Goodbye, everyone.